when a black boy shouted, "Don't drink that." No one at the event expected what would happen next. It was a sunny afternoon at one of the city's most exclusive charity events, held in a luxurious garden overlooking the river. The kind of place where glasses of champagne sparkled under the sun and conversations were punctuated by discreet laughter. People in suits and designer dresses moved between tables adorned with floral arrangements, while waiters served sophisticated appetizers. But for Malik, a black boy of just 12, the scene was a distant reality. Wearing an old faded t-shirt and carrying a box of water bottles, he walked between the parked cars, trying to sell whatever he could to raise money for his next meal. Malik knew he wasn't welcome there. Security guards watched him closely, as if he were a trespasser in forbidden territory. But hunger and determination were stronger than fear. He needed to sell those bottles to ensure he had something to eat later. As he walked around the perimeter of the event, something caught his eye. On the other side of the garden, a woman with an imposing presence caught all eyes. It was Evelyn Monroe, a billionaire famous for her philanthropy, but also for her reserved and difficult personality. Sitting at a table with other influential guests, Evelyn seemed untouchable, enveloped in an aura of power and elegance. She wore a sophisticated black dress and her jewelry shone like stars in the daylight. A glass of white wine rested on the table, while conversations around her flowed like a peaceful river. Malik was watching from afar, not knowing exactly why, when a tall, well-dressed man approached Evelyn's table. He wore a calm expression, but something about him seemed out of place. Malik saw him lean over the table, apparently putting something away, and for a brief moment, his hand slid over Evelyn's wine glass. It was a quick, almost imperceptible movement, but it set off a warning in the boy's mind. Malik frowned, trying to understand what he had just seen. Something wasn't right. Evelyn, distracted by a conversation with another guest, didn't notice. The man moved away quickly, blending into the crowd, but Malik remained fixed on him. His heart raced. He couldn't explain it, but his instinct screamed that he had to do something. When Evelyn reached out to take the cup, Malik sprang into action. He dropped the case of water on the floor and ran towards the table, shouting, "Don't drink that. Please don't drink it." Malik's voice cut through the air like a blade. The buzz of conversation ceased instantly. All eyes turned to him. Evelyn froze, holding the glass a few centimeters from her lips. Her gaze was a mixture of surprise and irritation as she stared at the panting barefoot boy standing next to her table. "Who let that boy in here?" asked one of the guests, with obvious disdain. A security guard was already approaching to remove Malik, but he insisted, his eyes wide and his voice trembling. "Please, ma'am, I saw it. He put something in your cup. I swear I saw it. Don't drink that, please." The silence that followed was almost palpable. Evelyn looked at Malik, trying to assess whether he was lying or delusional. The security guard grabbed the boy's arm, but he resisted, looking straight into the billionaire's eyes. "I know nobody believes me, because I'm just a homeless boy," he said, his voice firm despite his fear. "But I couldn't stay quiet. I saw what he did." Evelyn, visibly disconcerted, put the cup back on the table. "Let the boy go," she ordered, in a tone that didn't allow for argument. The security guard hesitated, but obeyed. Evelyn turned to Malik, crossing her arms. "All right, kid. You say you saw something. Who did?" Malik pointed in the direction where the man had disappeared. "It was him. That tall man in the gray suit. He handled your cup when you were distracted." The guests began to murmur again, and their eyes turned to where Malik was pointing. But the man had already disappeared. Evelyn narrowed her eyes, suspicious, but something in Malik's determination made her hesitate to dismiss his story. "Bring that man back," she ordered one of the security guards. "And bring that cup in for analysis immediately." The atmosphere at the event changed completely. The relaxed glow gave way to an air of tension and suspicion. Malik stayed where he was, nervous but determined to prove that he wasn't lying. He knew he had done the right thing, even if no one believed him. Meanwhile, Evelyn remained silent, staring at the cup as if it were a puzzle she needed to solve. And although her expression was hard to decipher, Malik realized that, for the first time, she was looking at him like someone worth listening to. Evelyn watched Malik's face with an intensity that made the boy feel even smaller, but he kept his posture, even though his hands were shaking. Meanwhile, the security guard she had sent returned to the garden, shaking his head negatively. "The man is gone, ma'am. We searched the perimeter, but he's gone," he said, looking embarrassed. The billionaire frowned and turned her attention to the glass still on the table. The memory of Malik's determined gaze echoed in her mind. Something about that boy, about the way he risked everything to warn her, seemed truer than she wanted to admit. "Bring in an expert immediately," said Evelyn, her tone silencing everyone around her. "I want that cup analyzed now. And tell security at the entrance that no one is to leave until everything has been cleared up." The murmuring among the guests intensified. Some people looked at Malik with disdain, while others seemed torn between skepticism and curiosity. For many, he was still just a street kid who had invaded the event, but for others, Evelyn's uncompromising security and Malik's own behavior raised enough doubts that no one dared ignore what he had said. Minutes later, a chemist hired by Evelyn's team arrived on the scene, carrying a portable test kit. He analyzed the cup under everyone's attentive gaze, while silence took over the room. Evelyn remained seated, her expression serious, her eyes alternating between the chemist and Malik. The boy, meanwhile, was standing by the table, holding his old case of water bottles as if it were a shield. He didn't look away, although he could feel the weight of the judgments around him. After a few minutes, the chemist looked up. His expression was a mixture of concern and shock. "Mrs. Marlowe," he began hesitantly, "there are traces of a toxic substance in the drink. I can't yet confirm what it is without a more detailed analysis, but I can tell you that it shouldn't be here." The impact of his words hit like a bombshell. A collective sigh echoed through the garden, and the guests began to murmur louder. Evelyn remained motionless for a few seconds before slowly standing up. Her expression was hard, her lips clenched into a thin line. "Call the police," she ordered her security guard. "I want this incident investigated immediately." As the security guard walked away to carry out his order, Evelyn looked at Malik again. There was something different in his gaze now, a mixture of respect and curiosity. "Did you really see this happen?" she asked, her voice softer but still loaded with authority. Malik nodded vigorously. "Yes, ma'am. I saw him pour something into your cup. He thought no one was looking, but I was." Evelyn tilted her head slightly, studying the boy. "Why didn't you keep quiet? You could have left and avoided all this trouble." Malik hesitated, his hands clenching the sides of the box. He knew he only had one chance to say something that made sense to her. "Because no one else was going to say anything," he finally answered. "And if it was my mother sitting here, I'd want someone to do the same for her." Silence returned to the room. Evelyn took a deep breath, processing the boy's words, while the distant sound of sirens indicated that the police were on their way. By the time the police arrived, the event was in a controlled frenzy. Guests whispered in small groups, some avoiding looking at Malik, while others began to approach, curious to know more about the boy who had saved the billionaire. Evelyn explained the situation to the officers, handing over the cup for forensic analysis and describing the man Malik had identified. "We have cameras all over the event. If this man really did what the boy said, we'll find the footage," assured one of the officers. Attention then turned to Malik. An officer approached him, his gaze stern but not hostile. "Are you sure what you saw, kid? Can you describe the man in more detail?" Malik nodded, describing precisely what he could remember. The gray suit, the slicked-back hair, the polished shoes. As he spoke, he felt Evelyn's eyes fixed on him, as if she was trying to see beyond what he was saying, trying to understand who he really was. The next few minutes were increasingly tense. The officers reviewed the cameras, the guests kept whispering, and Evelyn stayed by Malik's side, as if to make sure he wasn't ignored. When one of the officers returned with the images from the cameras, confirmation was immediate. The man described by Malik had indeed poured something into the cup. "He hasn't left the perimeter yet," said the officer, looking at his colleagues. "Let's find him." As the police moved quickly to find the suspect, Evelyn turned to Malik. Her serious expression softened a little, and she put a hand on his shoulder. "You saved my life today," she said, with a sincerity that made Malik swallow. "And I won't forget that." Malik just nodded, speechless. For a moment, he felt that, for the first time in a long time, someone was really seeing him. The search for the suspect made the atmosphere even more tense. Guests murmured nervously, while police officers scattered around the venue, analyzing every corner in search of the man who had tried to poison Evelyn. Malik remained close to the billionaire, his hands still clutching the old bottle case like a shield. He could feel everyone's eyes on him, but now they weren't just looks of contempt. There was curiosity, respect, and even a little admiration. Evelyn, for her part, seemed immersed in thought. her gaze fixed in the direction of the policeman, but clearly pondering something deeper. Finally, she turned to Malik. "How old are you?" she asked in a tone that didn't sound exactly casual, but wasn't harsh either. 12, ma'am, Malik replied, hesitating. "And you sell bottles of water every day?" She continued. "Whenever I can. It's how my sister and I survive." Her answer was direct, but there was a weight to her words, as if they contained a story he wasn't sure he should share. "Your sister?" Evelyn asked, surprised. "Where is she now?" Malik looked away for a moment before answering. "She's at home. I mean, where we're staying for now. I do what I can to look after her, but it's not always easy." His voice wavered, but he quickly recovered, as if he was used to hiding any sign of weakness. Evelyn remained silent, absorbing his words. Something in Malik's tone, in the firmness with which he spoke, seemed to touch something deep inside her. The police finally found the suspect. He had tried to blend in among the guests backstage at the event, but the security cameras had given him away. When the officers handcuffed him, he tried to keep his composure, but it was clear that he was panicking. "You've got nothing on me. This is a mistake," he shouted, as he was escorted out. One of the officers approached Evelyn, maintaining his professional posture. "Ms. Marlowe, we've managed to capture him. He's denying everything, but the videos and the boy's testimony are solid evidence. We'll take it from there." Evelyn nodded, but her focus was still on Malik. She knew that, without him, the situation could have ended tragically. When the policeman walked away, Evelyn looked at the boy again. "Malik, I want you to tell me the truth. Do you do this every day? Do you walk the streets alone, selling water for a living?" He nodded, his eyes shining with a mixture of pride and resignation. "I don't have much choice. My sister is small, she can't work, and—" he paused, taking a deep breath before continuing. "It's what we need to do." The sincerity in his voice struck Evelyn in a way she hadn't expected. For years, she had amassed wealth and influence, building an empire with fierce determination. But there, in front of a boy who barely had enough to survive, she felt small in comparison to his courage. As the event dissipated and the guests left the venue, Evelyn called one of her personal assistants. "I want you to investigate everything about this boy," she said, pointing at Malik. "Find out where he lives, who he lives with, and what his needs are." The assistant seemed to hesitate for a moment, but quickly nodded. "Yes, ma'am." Malik watched the interaction cautiously. He didn't understand why Evelyn was so interested in him, but he knew that something was about to change. "Malik," said Evelyn, turning to him once again, "you saved my life today. Without you, I wouldn't be here now, and probably no one would have done anything. I'm not just going to let it go." The boy frowned, confused. "What do you mean?" Evelyn put her hand on his shoulder, this time with a gentler touch. "I want to help you. You and your sister. No one should live the way you do. Today you saved me, and now it's my turn to repay you." Malik sat still for a moment, trying to process her words. He had never expected anything like this, especially from someone as powerful and distant as Evelyn. I don't know what to say." Evelyn smiled for the first time that evening, a small but genuine smile. "You don't have to say anything now. Just let me help you." As Malik nodded shyly, he didn't know that that moment would mark the beginning of a change he could never have imagined. In the days following the event, Malik's life began to change in ways he never imagined possible. Evelyn, true to her word, mobilized her team to investigate the situation of the boy and his sister. She discovered that the two were living in a small room in a temporary shelter, sharing the space with other families in equally difficult conditions. Malik's sister, Amara, was only 6 years old and suffered from severe asthma, aggravated by the precarious environment in which they lived. Evelyn wasted no time. Within days, she had arranged a new home for Malik and Amara, a modest but comfortable and safe space where the children could make a fresh start. In addition, she hired a private doctor to look after Amara's health and make sure she got the treatment she needed. But Evelyn knew that just providing a home wasn't enough. She wanted to give Malik the opportunity to build a future. One morning, while Malik was helping Amara pack her new backpack for school, a limousine pulled up in front of their house. Evelyn got out of the vehicle, impeccable as always, but with a warm look in her eyes that Malik was beginning to recognize. She was carrying a briefcase in one hand and a bag in the other. "Malik," she called out, with a discreet smile. "I have something for you." He ran out onto the balcony, Amara following close behind, curiosity evident on her face. Evelyn handed him the bag. Inside were new clothes, but not just any clothes. It was a school uniform from one of the best institutions in the city. "What's this?" Malik asked, holding the uniform as if it were made of crystal. "It's the next step," said Evelyn, handing over the folder. "You'll be admitted to St. James Academy. It's one of the best schools in the city, with full scholarships for talented children. You'll have everything you need to study, and if you put your mind to it, you'll be able to get as far as you want." Malik remained silent, looking at the uniform and the folder, his mind spinning. He had dreamed of opportunities like this, but never thought they could actually come true. I don't know if I can do it," he said at last, his voice low. "I don't know if I'm good enough." Evelyn knelt down to meet him, holding his shoulders firmly. "Malik, you've already proved yourself to be stronger and smarter than many adults I know. You saved my life with your courage and attention. If you can do that, you can do anything. Just promise you'll try." He nodded, still struggling to process everything. Amara gave him a wide smile and hugged him, saying, "You can do it, Malik. I know you can." Over the next few months, Malik began his new journey. Adapting to school was challenging at first. He felt out of place among the other students, many of whom came from wealthy and influential families. But little by little, he found his place. His determination and intelligence made him stand out, and he soon began to earn the respect of his classmates and teachers. Evelyn continued to be present in his life, not just as a distant benefactor, but as a mentor. She visited him regularly, helped him with his homework, and encouraged him to dream big. For her, Malik was more than retribution for saving her life. He was a reminder that anyone, regardless of their background, could achieve great things with the right opportunities. Years later, Malik, now a young graduate full of ambitions, took to the stage at a conference on social justice and opportunities for young people in vulnerable situations. He shared his story, from the days when he sold bottles of water on the streets to the moment when the kindness of a stranger changed his life. "My story is a reminder," he told the crowd, "that each one of us can make a difference. Sometimes all we need is someone to believe in us, someone to see us when the world ignores us." Among the audience, Evelyn watched, moved. She never regretted the day she decided to help that brave boy. And now, seeing him inspire so many people, she knew she had made the right decision. If this story has touched your heart, share it with someone you think needs to hear it. Acts of kindness can transform lives and create ripples of impact that spread far beyond what we imagine. And don't forget, subscribe to the channel for more inspiring stories like this one. See you next time.